COVID happened, the night COVID 1984, I realized they wanted me to code my own prison. And so at that point, I just threw my hands up and said, no, I don't want to be a part of this. You're starting to look in the future when we have gadgets that have the ability to read our brainwaves through electroencephalograms, which, there's already patents for this stuff out there. You have to wonder who is listening to our thoughts. By 2030, the data centers will use 40 to 50% of the current US power usage. For the first time, this is powerful technology. This is bringing people together.
What's normalizing your life? Extraction, like becoming the parasite.
Have faith, because it's not ours. It's not going to be clear. It's not going to be clear how this all plays out. But all this technology that they're trying to build, even the technology we're trying to use, it doesn't hold any weight compared to the technology that's innate and is inside of us.
All right, I am so excited for this episode. Today we have Hakeem Anwar, and I'm so happy that you're like in these circles and you're benevolent and building things that are going to be the solutions that we need moving forward. Hakeem Anwar is a technologist and educator who dropped his career in big tech to work on meaningful social movements. He founded #TakeBackOurTech to teach freedom lovers how to use technology privately, and created Above, a privacy-first technology company that develops phones, laptops, and communication services. So you're doing the Lord's work, my friend. Truly. Like you are, because I think for a very long time, I had this feeling of, man, all this stuff that I'm doing, trying to be private, using blockchain, structuring the private sector with trust and contract law. I'm still using iPhone. I'm still using the Apple computers because it's good. Like they've done good work in building out that technology for us to use. So I was always like, what's the point? It felt like a fight that was like already lost. But you have taken those steps to go, hey, you know what? This is all hacked devices anyway. Let's create our own stuff. Let's build our own things that we get back that control. So I want to use this episode not only to talk about that and what those solutions are, but to get to know you. One of the things that I do in my interviews is whenever I connect with someone that's building a bridge or a solution or a strategy or whatever it is, I want to know who they are. When these technologies are built, what's the soul that it's being built from? What's the mindset, the embodiment that it's being built from? So tell me a little bit about yourself, your journey to this point, and specifically, like, what was your red pill moment? What was that moment that was like, just shook you right out of that matrix and your eyes just wide open?
Yeah, man, that takes me a while back. I'd say over 10 years ago now. And just like a lot of other people, I had a conspiracy mentor, a grandfather, if you will, who started to share with me about how the military industrial complex and the medical complex, how all of that works, how the tax system works, how the Federal Reserve works. And this time I was pretty impressionable. I was in college, so it like kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. I was wondering what the point of it all was. What am I being educated for, really? And so instead of focusing 100% on my degree, I was also getting a bachelor's degree in conspiracy science, CS. And I ended up following that rabbit hole, like all the way down to deep underground military bases and all that fun jazz. Because I was really excited that there was a truth out there that had yet to be found. Because I knew on the surface, the normalcy, like this wasn't all there was to it, and that something was being hidden. So I've always been interested in the occult. And I think that naturally led towards me being open-minded. And so when my career started going on, the first 5 years of my career, I was just climbing the ladder, trying to work at one of the biggest tech companies. It hadn't really set in yet how big a part the tech companies were. I don't think really anyone knew at the time. This was a little bit after Snowden. COVID happened, the night COVID 1984. I realized they wanted me to code my own prison. And so at that point, I just threw my hands up, said, no, I don't want to be a part of this. And I really started focusing on solutions. One of the biggest influences of my life is a guy named Derek Bros, who you should definitely chat to as well. And at the time, he was working on a website called the Freedom Cell Network, and he invited me to come help with it. So that was how it started. For the first time, I was working on a software project. And what Freedom Cells is a way to put in your city and to find like-minded people like you who are growing their own food, homeschooling their children, getting their money out of the banks. And so I was like, for the first time, this is powerful technology. This is bringing people together. And then I also got to see what the tech companies would respond with, which they would delist us off of Google. They would make it hard for people to find us. And I was like, okay, so this is the game. And when you actually threaten the system, the walled garden closes itself really quickly. So I pivoted. My mission to what I'm doing now with Above and Take Back Our Tech.
Yeah, I talk about this constantly. For those listening, my focus is crypto, is blockchain. And one of the things I talk about is the staying as liquid as possible. How quickly can you access your wealth? And what I've noticed in centralized server systems is that they're slowly changing policy little by little, and it's creating more and more friction to access that wealth. So it's like policy friction. They're changing it internally. And so it's like if you just sit there and be passive, eventually one day you're going to wake up and then you're going to try to access your wealth, and they're going to say, oh, it's going to take 5 to 7 business days and you're limited to $1,000 or whatever other friction they're going to create. So what you're saying is you're looking at it from so there's the technology and then there's the systems, right? The operating systems, or the soul, let's call it the soul of the technology. Have you been primarily focused on building the new hardware or the new software?
Really both. It's a whole ecosystem. Funny enough, with Linux and also with de-Googled phones, you can use older hardware if you want. But I think that the people I needed to reach at the time it's funny. It was actually the older generation, and they're the ones who needed the most help with their tech. So one of the things right off the bat was it has to be so simple, anyone can use it. So today we have different types of people using Above phones, anyone from a homeschooler who's getting their first phone for the first time at 14 or 15, or an 80-year-old grandma using cryptocurrency. So like when you are getting these diverse people who maybe haven't touched this for the first time, you have to make it as easy as possible. And so that was kind of our mission with Above, is how can we make this as seamless as possible? It's kind of taking ideas that Apple did so well with Mac OS and iPhone. They just made everything just work and it works together. But the challenge was, can we do this with open source technology that lives primarily on the user's own computer? And I think we've gotten pretty far.
Yeah. And, I think it's beautiful that your main focus initially was the older generation, because that's actually my focus as well. With the blockchain stuff that I teach, the structuring, I'm like, how can I present this information in a way that lands easily? My demographic is 45 plus men and women. They're not as efficient with technology. There's the user experience with these new technologies, and then there's how can we protect ourselves? And one thing that I know that you're focused on is privacy. So let's talk about a little bit about that. Like, why is it so important to be private? Like, why is privacy important when using technology?
There's these things that have kind of revealed themselves because the context has shifted from Snowden in 2012, when he basically revealed to the world that, hey, the NSA is working closely with the biggest giants in industry. So AT&T, Yahoo, Apple, all of them, the NSA has a backdoor to that. Now, whether you believe Snowden or not, there are very verifiable and documented cases of the NSA doing this. And the internal PowerPoints they leaked definitely was pointing to, hey, we have the ability to search all of this stuff. So I think that was the first shift in mass consciousness. But it was also at the same time like, okay, so what? The NSA has access to this data. Why does that matter? Now, what we found is that there's been no bright line where it stops. There is no line at where protecting your privacy or having your privacy exploited stops. Carry on a decade after Snowden, and now we have ways for the police and law enforcement and government and independent organizations to get around warrants for surveillance. So in the past, you would have to go to a judge and go through a legal process to get information on someone. Now we're in the territory where these companies or these organizations can buy the data themselves from these data aggregators from apps on your phone, and they can tell where you've been, and they can use that. They can use that in a court of law. So that's absolutely crazy that we've already gotten there. And again, it's not just your location, it's not what you're saying on the phone, but the line keeps moving. So now we're to the point where your health information is at risk. So for instance, if you have your Apple Watch and you've signed on for the Apple Health Study, maybe you didn't know this. Maybe you didn't notice, but that actually gets sent to the FDA and Health and Human Services. You're starting to look in the future when we have gadgets that have the ability to read our brainwaves through electroencephalograms, which, there's already patents for this stuff out there. You have to wonder who is listening to our thoughts. There's not a line, and if we don't stand up for our line right now, we're going to end up being pawns in a virtual reality.
Ooh, my goodness. That was very well said and well broken down there. This is actually a great segue because we're seeing the data centers. The data centers are going up. They're putting billions and billions of dollars into the data centers. And we're seeing the new technologies, the innovations pop up like AI, flock cameras. That's a whole other thing. Blockchain technology. I know there's a push towards centralization. There's a push towards control by these entities. What would you say is the main reason for these data centers? Is it just to perpetuate that and to go towards this social credit system?
Dude, it's a really good question. I'm still trying to answer it. I have 4 theories. I want to kind of see where they land with you. The first, I think, is that people are greedy, especially like ultra rich people. And so we saw this AI bubble. The economy is hurting. So anyone with money is just throwing, let's all do a data center, right? The AI companies will rent out our data centers and we'll make a lot of money. Everyone's going to use it. And I think it's just very short-sighted and ignorant. And if you look at China, which is a few years ahead, they kind of did the same thing. They had a data center boom in 2023 and 2024. And 1 year later, 80% of their data centers were still sitting completely empty. They didn't have one person renting it. So it could just be a little bit of stupidity. The other thing that we're hearing in the media now, I think OpenAI last week just did a report. They were saying the anti-data center sentiment is Chinese linked. And that's a talking point that comes up. The CEO of Anthropic that created Claude, they're worried about China building cyber offenses with AI to attack US critical infrastructure. So I think the thinking is, hey, let's build so much critical infrastructure that will always be ahead. And it's weird because you hear Kevin O'Leary say that, you hear the US government, the National Institute for Standards and Technology say that we have to make sure we're outpacing China. So those are 2 big reasons, but I still don't think it explains how much data center compute we're actually building. And if you want to get a visual into this, you could go to aidatacentermap.org. I built one of the maps that has information from a bunch of public sources. And from what I'm seeing with this data, mind you, it could be inaccurate in some ways, but it's pretty comprehensive, is that by 2030, the data centers will use 40 to 50% of the current US power usage. So, yeah.
I know you have this map. You created it. Can we actually show? Would you mind just sharing for those that are watching on YouTube, sharing this map? It's absolutely incredible. He showed a quick glimpse of it before we started. And it just looks, I talk about the mycelium network of hardware cables that exists in the world. Here it is, guys.
Yes, it turns out, hey, getting power to your home it's a pretty messy thing. And so the cool things you can do with this map, let's go into Dallas. You can click on any point on the map. And we're able to do a reasonable calculation of the water displacement and the power displacement. So the data centers in this blue circle, which is all of Dallas and all of Fort Worth, that's our estimate for how much water they take. And if you don't believe me, you can criticize my numbers. So just click on an individual hyperscaler, which the hyperscalers are the ones we should be worried about. They're the ones that use a tremendous amount of water and power. And we do have a step-by-step formula with sources. So, you can check my numbers. I've done a lot of research on this, but I think it's a pretty reasonable estimate for how much these things use. The second thing you can look at is you can actually look at the heat island effect. So this is an effect that happens that data centers, because of how hot these chips get, they get one order of magnitude within the surface of the sun, each AI, right? So that heat has to go somewhere. It's blown out from these cooling towers and it goes in the atmosphere. So the result is that it raises the surface temperature of the land, and that will accumulate. So the more hyperscale data centers they are, the more it accumulates. And so in some parts of the United States,
I've heard 15, 20 degrees difference, right, around the area.
That's what I'm seeing. Is theoretically it should be about like 15 to 20 degrees difference. Not in all places, but in a lot of places like Dallas or Phoenix or anywhere these hotspots are.
You just think of the impact to the natural environment, just that alone. Obviously, as a physical human, we have homes, we can be inside in air conditioning, we're not going to probably feel it as much, but the nature, right, the environment around the location, the down to, from the bugs all the way up to the birds, who knows what kind of impact it's having on that type of living organisms and how that is impacting us indirectly.
Absolutely, man. And it's definitely a nightmare for people who live next to these things. There's so much we can go into, but this is what I hear. It sounds like a loud, droning vacuum cleaner running 24/7. So it makes people go crazy. It makes animals go crazy. All the animals leave the area for some of these, for these hyperscalers. And then the most messed up part is that once they move, you're stuck. Like, how do you sell your house? Who's going to buy your house? Like, you're stuck at the data center. And so it's really horrible for the people that live nearby these communities. So what I wanted to do with this report is give people a way to see it coming ahead of time and to organize. Because there have been a few cities in the United States that have pushed out data centers. One has been San Marcos, Texas, but you really have to be tuned in locally.
And this is for those that are interested in doing that and actually pursuing that on a local level. This is a resource. You just created a massive resource for people to be able to aggregate data and collect that to take it to these meetings. Do you have any people that you know that are starting to do that? Like what process they've gotten into to start that?
So there's a few case studies that I have in the report. And the one that I talk about a lot is San Marcos, because they have a very active local conservation group. And I've been to a few of their meetings, traveled over there to say hi. And there's several organizations that are doing the water conservation. And so when they found that this data center was like $2 billion, about 400 megawatts of power, which would be double the amount that the town uses. But when they found that it would pull water from the Guadalupe and actually then take its coolant and then put it back in the Guadalupe River, then they freaked out. Yeah.
Whoa, yeah. That is, I didn't know that was a thing. I mean, that makes sense. I was like, what do you do with the water once it's used?
Exactly. And that's something that people don't think about, and kind of data centers and their operators, they do these studies. They're like, yeah, we'll get the coolant, we'll clean it up and put it back in the river. But there's not safety. They don't do their own safety studies, right? Once they started to realize this, they gathered everyone together and they showed up at the rezoning hearings, which if a data center is within city limits, it has to go through rezoning to be industrially zoned. So they showed up with 100 people and they kept that hearing going until 3 a.m. And they let the city council know what was up. And that's what we got to do everywhere across the country.
Wow. I've been hearing so much of data centers. I live in Arizona in the Scottsdale area, so around Phoenix. And I've been hearing about how much data centers. I'm in the heart of it. I knew you were going to say that. I was hoping it was not true. Dude. Why in the desert? There's no water here.
Dude. Why indeed build so many data centers here? By the way, the red you're seeing, it's not related to data centers, but that's like overall water stress in the region. But it's like a bank account, how much water we're pulling out versus is being restored. Yeah. So Scottsdale, I heard too recently, they're building like a mega city there too.
Yeah, a smart city, a smart mega city. It's already a smart city. It's just getting more smart. All the flock cameras just went up basically this past week. The last couple of weeks, I'd say. It's
Really?
like right now it's happening. Yeah, they just announced it in March, and then they're like, "Yep, by June we're going to be launching them." So they're all over.
Man, I don't envy that, but you are in the heart of it. And I also think when you're in the heart of things, there's going to be pushback. And I fully support that. But Phoenix has a lot going on because it has one of the largest semiconductor plants that is going to build these AI chips.
Right.
And they also have a ton of data centers, which I'm like you, like, why build it in Phoenix of all places? It's dry as heck out there in Arizona.
Makes no sense. No, there's already water problems here, and it's like, what?
Oh yeah. This is interesting actually. Actually, man, if you're close to Phoenix, maybe you could give me a read on this, or maybe if one of your friends is out there. Oh, there is, I think it's supposed to be near Avalon. Here we go, Avondale.
Okay, yeah,
All right.
yeah, close to Goodyear.
Dude.
Yep, that's what I remember hearing. Oh my gosh, that's so many.
There's so many here, bro. So dude, like anyone you know, just ask them to go take a walk around in this area and just be like, what's the temperature? Because theoretically, it should be like over 100 all the time. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's pretty normal here in this area to be, especially now we're going to the summertime. Temperatures at between 95 to 105, 110 is actually pretty normal because it's dry heat. So as long as you go into the shade, you're fine. But I can only imagine next to those servers. I can only imagine. You can't hide away from that.
And I'm curious too, man. Do you feel like it's the surveillance? Is that what you intuit with all these data centers coming up?
So I definitely see, it's too coincidental. The flock camera thing happening, the AI thing happening, the blockchain things are happening, the facilitation of that for government clarity and regulation. So I see how that can be like, it's like the dot-com bubble. There was a time with the dot-com bubble that every major company had a dot-com plan. They had a website that they were planning to do, and they had put all this money towards a department in their company to create that. And then 99% of them went away. There's this like flatness because mostly, I think, the regulations that came in. So we're seeing a lot of that happening now too with blockchain. I'm sure AI is going to get some of that. And who knows? They're putting so much money into this. And I wonder if it is a combination of, yes, the timing for the greed, because there's money to be made, which that's a whole conversation of itself with OpenAI and the billions that they're putting into this stuff. And they're not making nearly as much of that with the money that they're making with the OpenAI platform. So yeah, I think it's a combination of both. Yeah, no, I heard it's a third almost, right?
Yeah, it's really low, not even close to any of their projections. And I would say that's a really good read on the situation. It's just like seeing the cycles in history. It's a massive bubble. Everyone's going into it. And a lot of consequences as a result is like, of course, the environment, but also people's ability to buy computers is going out the window when a lot of these suppliers that were normally building solid state drives and RAM that you might put on a nice computer at home so you could play some games from time to time. Now that's too expensive and out of reach. And so it just does conveniently fit into this future where you have to rent the knowledge, you have to rent the power. I think Sam Altman said that, right? We're going to gather all the world's intelligence and rent it back to you. And so that's where we're headed. And then also, yeah, the surveillance aspect is got to be an element of it. It absolutely has to be. I think Flock is just one piece. I will bring people's attention to that if you use a big tech phone, this AI layer got enabled on your phone. Gemini or Apple Intelligence got enabled on your phone without your consent. It just appeared there one day and there's no way to remove it. Your activity on your phone is as well. There's like 6 billion phones on the planet. So you need a lot of processing power to gather insights from them.
Yeah. And just talking on surveillance, a little bit on what I heard in your podcast with Alec about the biofield. Remember that conversation? Yeah. Just because I don't know if Chris Crutch, 6-7 podcast, he's a sound engineer, like a frequency engineer. And his perspective is like, yeah, they can pick up using these devices, they can pick up your aura field and based on the frequencies that the phone is emitting can make adjustments to like thought or like be able to read your mind. And I'm like, imagine the type of processing needed for all that to create a digital version of yourself by the data that it's collecting, which then they can like influence, and then that influences you, right? The digital version of you is influenced by their system, which then influences you.
It's a complete feedback loop. So dude,
right.
That's like far out there. Like, I'm open to the possibility. I'm going to check this out, man. Thanks for sharing that with me. But it'd be pretty spooky. We know that's the direction they want to go past 1984, but I do wonder if it's there yet. Maybe it's there with like Wi-Fi. Maybe that's all they need to do. But I will look into that.
I think I went down that rabbit hole because it's like, why? Like, why? I talk about corruption, and like, I think the last 4 or 5 years, most have opened up to medical corruption, the medical field and what they're doing with medicine and how they're, through our lack of awareness, creating fear and uncertainty and doubt. And then we react, right, to what they're presenting to us as the solution. But why the corruption in big tech? What is it? A money thing? Is it a control thing? Done some research on Palantir a little bit. Whitney Webb, she talks about Palantir a lot, and I've been hearing a lot about what they're creating. That guy looks crazy to me too. The way that he looks
like he's done a few too many lines.
Yeah, he looks like the evil guy that's behind. I'm gonna get everyone. But with that aside, it's like, is Palantir, what's your perspective on that company specifically when it comes to like this corruption that's happening? Is it a facilitation for the social credit system? Is it, I don't know if you know a little bit about real world tokenization, RWAs in the crypto space. I do believe there's a push towards that to facilitate the digital transacting of physical assets through the blockchain, because then it's like real time clearing. Everything is really fast. So what's your perspective on Palantir, if I can ask that?
Yeah, man, it's definitely a mark of a new paradigm in surveillance. I call it unified surveillance because for the first time, we're able to take different sources of information, whether it's like who checked in at a local library, to the traffic lights in your city, to the police department, and Palantir will come in and glue those all together in a single platform where everything is modeled inside the system. So people's cars, people's properties, the relationships. And you can see how, as an investigator, that makes it really easy. Hey, we're trying to look for this person. Okay, where's his family? Okay, cool. Where do they live? All right, where did we last see their car? Now all of it fits together, and it absolutely does fit into tokenization because it says they're kind of pilots to move us forward into digital ID, which I've also written about extensively. And that's one of those things, that you're kind of saying, the question, like, why are you doing this? Why on earth is Nigeria receiving $200 million to build digital ID? Like when many people are starving and not have water, right? Why are these things coming? And it's because, yes, unfortunately, they are trying to impose the surveillance grid that is tracking everything you do, everything you say, and is pervasive. So there's not a single place you can run from it. And I think it's finally the era where the masks are off, and this is coming out to the public. We're coming face to face with the darkness. And I think ultimately this is a good thing, because it's like you're an entrepreneur. This is the point in time where we need to be aware of what's coming and build the solutions that protect people. Because I think if people saw what's coming, they would make the rational choice and be saying, no, I'm not signing up for that whatsoever.
Yeah, that's so important. It's like knowing what agreements you're getting yourself into. To click here to accept terms and conditions. Okay. I'm not going to read this 1,000 pages. Well, maybe you should at this point. I mean, things are so nuts.
And that's a good question to ask, right? If Apple, Instagram, Facebook, all these places, if they're in bed with Palantir, I'm not saying they're not. I don't have any proof or even observations of that. But I would say that those platforms each have their own way to gather insights about people. But if one day they're all feeding into this unified surveillance system, which is originally what Snowden said in 2012, then are you willing to step back from it? Are you willing to let that go? And what does life look like after you ditch the social media? I would also argue surveillance is just one, it's the least impactful part of this when it comes to your mind and your spirit. For me, when I go on social media, I feel like my consciousness drop, like it's freaking pulling me in. And that's the scary part. If they take your attention and willpower and they just put it into consumption, that's another big reason to go private.
Ooh, that's a great one right there. It's like using technology intentionally versus unintentionally, like unconsciously. You become the product when you're unconsciously using it. You get sucked in. And then what's normalized in your life? Extraction, like becoming the parasite. Where I think the best way to use technology is intentionally, where you are the creator and you use it to express creation, to express value through rather than extract value from.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much the bar is so low. So you get it, right? And I would love to hook you up with a phone or a laptop to get you started. I don't know what your privacy journey looks like, but maybe it's time, bro.
Oh no, trust me. I was just talking to my fiance about it the other day that I was like, I think I'm done with iPhones. I think I'm done being tracked and traced and listened to, because it's nuts. Because I get many moments in my life where I'm talking about something or thinking about something, and then I see an ad or I see the thing that it's trying to sell me on because of what I was thinking of. I'm like, how is this thing? How does it even know?
How does it know, and how does it track you across devices? It's like, I didn't even see that.
I know. It just reminds me of a Minority Report, like the pre-crime.
Instead, it's pre-crime. It's like pre-consumption. He's like, I think he's going to want to buy this.
Yeah. I think you were just thinking about this thing. Do you want it? It's nuts. So yeah, go ahead.
I was going to just say, hey, by the way, above phone, above book, no ads at all. No ads.
That's cool. I definitely at the end of this, I'm going to ask some questions about the device itself. And I would love to get one. I've been wanting to do that for a while now with my phone. And it's just to get used to it. It's comfort. It's just like, I'm so used to using it in a certain way, but I think it's important to go through the uncomfortable feeling of change. I think we're at that point now. It's not good to just be passive anymore. So that's the hardware and the operating system. What about apps? Do the same apps work on your phone? And are there any out there that are not, I wouldn't say benevolent, but at least not malevolent, like where they're intentionally trying to screw you over?
Oh man, there's benevolent apps there. Really, there's some really powerful stuff out there that it's like the universal tragedy. It's like the best art is somewhere out there, but no one really knows about it. And the crappiest copied art, everyone's using it, right? So that same inversion exists in technology. And there's an app store on our phone called F-Droid. In fact, if you have an Android phone, you could start checking this out now, f-droid.org. And on the store, all of the apps are transparent. So you could go in, you could look at their source code, you could see what they do, and there's no hidden code in there. And hey, it turns out if you're not able to hide anything of your app, there's not any tracking in there, because that's how the analytics and advertising, that's how all that stuff works. They have proprietary libraries that they put in the apps. So on our phones, not only can you download apps off of F-Droid, but you can see which companies are involved in your popular apps. So in a second here, I'll actually give you a demo to show you what that looks like. But there's replacements for pretty much everything from your mapping app to your podcasts to YouTube. And it's coming from a place of being local first. So many of the times you don't even need these apps to be connected to the internet. They simply just work straight off your phone. So if you download all the maps of the United States, you could disconnect the app from your internet, just rock it. And that's power right there, not having to be dependent on the internet or any of these companies to get around the planet.
I love that. Is there any blockchain-based things that you're working on with the device?
So we have not ventured out into doing any blockchain solutions because there's a lot of smart people like yourself who are working on that. We just want to support the best solutions. But I guess what's important for us is like privacy. Even I've kind of got a weird feeling about Bitcoin. I'm interested in your thoughts here too, but just kind of seeing it's like loose relationship with Epstein and having that brushed up against, and then it's completely transparent, right? And then you just once the institutional acceptance, all of that's making me feel a little bit weird about it. And I've been using Bitcoin since 2012, so just flowing with it. But what do you think?
Yeah, I've had this question come up a lot recently because of that, because of the emails. Look, so for me, blockchain technology, that's what it's about. It's about this concept that is blockchain, right? Which is made up of what? 11 different concepts that creates decentralization, what I call toroidalism, which is like peacetime capitalism, where the energy is flowing back into itself. So I think the idea of blockchain is like gunpowder, right? It's like this thing that was discovered and can be used for good, can be used for evil. Great. It exists now. It's the genie's out of the bottle. Bitcoin, even though it was first, and that's where blockchain was introduced, Bitcoin is just a brand of blockchain, right? It's just a specific code that is branded as Bitcoin. With that said, Bitcoin has actually been forked. I don't know if you guys know what fork is, which is basically like continuing the chain with a little bit of changes in the code, where it goes through consensus. Like everybody that's a part of that network agrees to it.
BSV?
Yeah, there's like BSV, there's BCH, Bitcoin Cash, there's Bitcoin Diamond. There's a lot of people don't know this, but more than 35,000 times this Bitcoin has been forked, has been changed.
That's wild.
So I know. When people hear that number, they're like, wait, what? And say, yes.
We're at which one do I use, Zoato? 35,000. I can't keep up with them.
So then that taught me something. I was like, okay, markets that we trade are based on the consensus agreement of which one the whole group wants to use to trade. That's really what it is. Because like I can disagree. I can be mining a chain like Bitcoin and disagree with the change and just stay on the old chain and just keep mining the old chain. Doesn't mean that'll be worth anything, but that is an option. And if it's big enough, you get something like BCH, you get something like all these other editions of Bitcoin. So then it comes up the question of, so this one that we're trading that's worth whatever it's worth today, $70,000 or whatever, is not the original Bitcoin. So what is it? Oh, it's a copy of a copy. It's 30,000 plus times down the road. So and then you get that question of, is it created by Epstein? Is it created by the NSA? Whatever. And again, going back to what I said about blockchain, the idea, that's the most important thing. This concept, now that it's out, it's like a genie out of a bottle. We can grab a hold of that and create our own. The ones that they've normalized and pushed out to the levels that they have been now, and now like institutions are going into Bitcoin, like it's just normalized. I think it's because when Epstein came in, they started to create influence in those changes to then get to the point where they're at now, where they're like, okay, we're at where we feel comfortable with this coin to be able to start accumulating it. And so in the last 4 or 5 years or so, there's been an accumulation around a certain price point. So,
I'm
it's
with
one
you
of those
there.
things.
It's the idea the first time is never going to be perfect. So Bitcoin changed the world. I mean, the things that we were able to do with Bitcoin in the early days was absolutely amazing. And then things changed, and then the transparent model didn't work so well. Have you read Roger Ver's book on hijacking Bitcoin?
Yes. Yeah. Hijacking Bitcoin.
Yeah. So like, I don't know about you, but for me now, I'm more of a privacy maximalist with the coins that I want to use. And even though I'm not an expert by any means on crypto, but like I tend to say that, hey, it's a good thing if people can't see what I spend my coin on.
Yeah, so there's 3 things. So there's 2 main things that I teach in my academy when it comes to crypto and blockchain. Number 1, you're trying to break down the project that you're investing into to determine what's happening with the energy. How is it flowing? And I think that's a really important filter to create so that we can see which projects are still using the old soul, like the traditional banking concepts that are being put into the new tool, and they're calling it new. like lipstick on a pig. So we have to be aware enough to know, how's that energy moving? How is it flowing? Is it going to the top, to the few, like a pyramid, or is it flowing back into itself? Once you know that, then the next question is, what do I do with it? Is it a storage of value? Am I going to accumulate this long term and start storing value in it? Am I going to speculate with it and just day trade it? Or am I going to utilize it? Maybe it's a blockchain protocol solution that you can actually incorporate, you can use in your flow or your strategy. So with Bitcoin, it's again, with all these technologies, with all these assets that exist in crypto, you have to keep asking yourself that question. And like, which assets am I going to store value in long term? Really? How decentralized is it? How much of the circulating supply do I have? How much control do I have over those assets? So again, going back to blockchain, the goal here is to get you an awareness on this concept so that any project, Bitcoin, Ethereum, whatever it is, you can break it down to its fundamental layers, and then you can decide yourself what you're going to do with it. And I would agree with you. I think the privacy stuff is definitely important to include.
I really like that approach, man. It's the same approach I take. You give people the tools, teach them how to use the tools, and then they don't have to ask you, hey, what about is this project good or bad? I'm sure you get that question.
I tell people, it's like, I don't want to recreate dependency with me. Please. Like, I want you to be interdependent and self-accountable. And I can disappear and you'll still do stuff.
Speaking about self-accountability, here's the F-Droid app store. I don't know if you can see that there.
Yes.
Dude, yeah, there's pretty much anything you can think is on here. We have replacements for chats. I think we've got a few different wallets on here. We definitely have, there's Zcash, Bitcoin wallets. And so,
wow. So you do
these, these are going to be completely open source. And like any of these apps that you download, you're off of Google's radar, right? This is a distribution model completely separate from Google or Apple. And all of the apps on the above phone actually come from the F-Droid App Store now. But if you wanted to venture into the smart city and get yourself some disgustingly tasty junk food apps, you can do that, right?
I was going to ask that. Oh, there they are. It's junk food apps. I love the way you just said that. That's exactly what it is.
Junk food apps.
I need my fix, bro. Where's my Telegram and my Instagram and my Gram?
I don't know. Yeah, and it's no judgment. Like, I get it. I get it if you want some junk food apps. Just wait, because you got to read the nutrition facts from time to time. So, for instance, Adobe PDF Reader. Oh, yeah, what's the PDF Reader? Like, what should I be scared of here? So, with this app, it's called Aurora Store. You can go down and look at the privacy section here at the bottom. And this is the nutrition facts. These are the 9 companies that are looking at you use this PDF reader that ultimately it shouldn't even need a connection to the internet. It's just reading a file on your phone. But hey, these are the companies that are involved. So it's just like what you're saying, you're giving people the tools to audit what they're using on a day-to-day and what they're putting on their phone and giving them their informed consent.
Oh my gosh, dude. This is next level. I have a friend. Do you know Ian Carroll? Ian Carroll?
Yes. Yeah.
He has that app where you can go to the store and you can scan the food and it'll tell you like all those facts like this, like facts that you don't get from the box. This is what this is for apps. That's incredible. Dude. That's absolutely incredible.
Yeah. And yeah, so this is it's gonna help you make better choices at the end of the day. And what I want people to do is to audit their apps and see that they don't have to reach for the junk food. They can use something like Librera Reader. Here we go. It's not set up yet, but this is a PDF reader. It's nothing special. Yeah. It reads documents. And then there's actually really cool stuff too. Here, let me use this one. So there's an OpenStreetMap. And this is an app I was talking about earlier where you can download the entire US. I think I've done that here. Maybe I didn't. But so you can see if I get in close enough, it's saying, hey, do you want to download the Tennessee map? I can do that.
Right.
And then I can put the phone on airplane mode and actually get to wherever I want without being connected to the internet. So
that is so cool. So cool. So you do have access on this phone to certain antennas and connections and pathways that you can turn off, turn on if you want to.
Yeah. So the phone works. It connects to any cell tower. So whatever phone service you're using, you can use it on this phone. GPS satellites, we could rap about that if you want, but GPS is it's a passive protocol. Your phone doesn't need to communicate out anywhere. It's just reading the GPS signals that are coming from space, and that's how it orients itself. So it turns out you don't really need Apple or Google's location services, which the only reason they exist is because they're super precise, and it's because they're collecting everyone's Wi-Fi networks as you go around. So that's why they're super precise and they work indoors.
Especially, and then you add the 5G towers. That's a whole other layer of information. I've seen that recently where now they're able to see through walls using Wi-Fi networks because they can see it takes the waves from different routers, and as the waves are going, it pinpoints the individual inside the buildings.
Yeah, they call it Wi-Fi sensing, and that's why I have my house wired for Ethernet. There's so many dangers with EMF, and you can feel it take a toll on your organism. But I don't know how many. I would not say that's being used at a wide scale. But it's just if someone's going to use that against you, you're going to see them. You're going to look outside, and there's going to be a guy with a box pointing it at your desk. And be like, "Hey, cut that out." But if you have a router at home operated by Comcast or by any of these big companies, they have those features built into the router. That's just another thing you got to think about is how can I replace my router?
Just going back a little bit to the GPS. So you said that so you're saying that the phones don't need something on all the time to be able to use GPS? Is that what you're saying? That it's just picking up the signals from whatever the satellite that's pushing it down from space?
Yeah, brother. So so for instance, I've got a few points in Nashville here. I don't have my location on right now, but let's say I could start a turn-by-turn navigation to wild mushrooms. This is a foraging area. And it's going to calculate the route locally on my phone. And it's able to tell the location without needing to connect out to the internet, because the GPS is basically, these satellites are sending you their exact locations. And based on 3 or 4 different satellites, it can trilaterate its own position. Yeah, you don't have to communicate out everywhere. There's GPS satellites are always sending out information that anyone can use.
See, this is great for me. I'm so happy to be able to do this with you because I've always had assumptions of how technology works. And I know now, after creating my academy and teaching crypto, that I'm like, oh, most people don't even know how the internet works. So I had to break it all the way down. So this is cool. That means that my assumptions are the fear. And a lot of these assumptions are based on my own fear and of the unknown, that I just create the story. But the way you're describing this stuff is, there's more to this. There are ways around this. It's not as a closed box as I had heard in the past, or at least I had believed in the past.
The story hasn't been written yet. And I think that there's a 100th monkey effect for technology. And we're up against that. The above phone and the open source technology that powers the above phone, like Graphene OS and all these apps, we're succeeding. This is a big movement. I would say there's a few 100,000 people using these phones around the planet.
Wow.
Google, they're starting to get threatened. And we're seeing them do stuff like pass these developer verification requirements and also app verification, so that if a bank, they like to put it forward as a security measure, and they like to encourage other apps to use it, so like a bank or a financial institution. And if they do it, the phone has to be officially licensed by Google to even use the app. Now we're starting to see this, and so they're scared. And at this point, we need to get to a point where so many people are using these phones, it really doesn't matter, because we've got peer-to-peer payment mechanisms with us. And you're going to be an important part of helping us figure out which payment systems do we use? Do we use Zeno, Monero, or what? And so it's a race right now. The good news is that even if certain Google apps don't work on the phone, or certain apps don't work on the phone, you can always use the web browser. But I would say at this point, like 95, 97% of the apps do work fully on the phone. So that's good news.
We had talked a little bit about gatekeepers, and I remember hearing a little bit about that with your episode with Alec. So, in crypto, we talk about layer 0, layer 1, layer 2, and the different layers on how this technology works. And each layer, there's a different company that's building out in that specific layer. One of the layers that I do talk about is the gatekeeping of the internet. Is that something that you're kind of thinking about and what that looks like for that gatekeeper? Because I feel like you've hit the hardware gatekeeping, you've hit the operating system gatekeeping and the app gatekeeping. But then there's this layer of like actually connecting to things and being able to communicate. Is that something that you're still working on? Is that something that you want to do? Or is that something that's just not going to be on the table?
That'd be layer 0, right?
I guess.
That'd be the fundamental layer.
It's the hardware, the fundamental layer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude, we're totally on it. And a lot of people are on it now with the long range radio and mesh networks. Like the technology is there. The problem is that we can build this stuff. And I would say right now there's usable stuff. But then there's also the aspect of deploying a network so that it serves everyone in a small area or even a city. And we're going to see that in the next 2 years. And heck, I think we might even be a part of it. I can't share too much right now, but I see that coming. But the thing is we have to take baby steps, right? We can't do like advanced mixing pools if you haven't set up your Bitcoin wallet or your basic crypto wallet. And so that's my mission right now, is to get people taking the baby steps, replacing their phone, replacing their laptop, so that when we have the mesh network, it'll be easy to plug into and no one could stop you from doing it. Yeah, long story short, mesh networks are the future and we will replace the internet in the next few years.
Yeah, I am seeing a lot of it already being created, like different versions of the people's internet, whether it's like through devices. I don't know if you heard of helium.com. Mm-hmm. They use the current gatekeepers, but and then they take that information through a device that then creates a whole low RAN mesh Wi-Fi basically for a city, because low RAN goes 2+ miles. And there's other solutions out there. Yeah, I know Quartal. I don't know if you heard of Quartal. Mike Winter, he's a part of that. Yeah. They're creating their own device and their own decentralized internet. So yes, there are solutions coming into place with that. I just didn't know if there was going to be something built in to the device itself or something that created a network with the device itself. But it sounds like you guys are at least have that in your mind to be able to incorporate that.
It's early stages, Yeah. For me, I would be happy with the mesh network if it could replace my reliance on phone numbers, because that's what I use the phone for.
Yeah.
So can it do video chats, audio chats? And the second thing that I guess people don't think about, all right, fine, mesh network, but you're over there in Arizona, I'm over here somewhere in the United States. And how are we going to build we got to build the mesh network, right? So there's other things, and we want to, when we go, we're going to have a pretty focused strategy. But it's really exciting to see that. I do think that's going to happen in the future, where people have, just like Helium, they'll have their own personal computing nodes. And instead of going for major internet utilities like Gmail or any of these services, we're going to have them closer to home, running on community-oriented infrastructure. And that's always been our mission at Above. It's like, I haven't really showed you this stuff yet, but we are running apps that anyone could run at home, but we're doing it at a professional scale. So we have the ability to do encrypted chat. This is XMPP, a federated protocol for encrypted messaging. And the really awesome part is you can actually bridge it to the phone network. So you can see this person's phone number here.
That's cool.
And I don't need a SIM card to use it, right? It's phone over internet. And it's only $5 a month and you pay with Bitcoin. So there's all these solutions that we're layering on top that could replace the phone network. We also have video conferencing. This is a replacement to Zoom, right? Jitsi, you've probably heard of this at some point.
Oh, yes.
No, it's really great. It can actually replace Zoom. We've had here we go. Yeah. So it can actually replace Zoom. You hop into a meeting, you send someone a link, right? So we got to get people used to using these alternatives, I think, before we can take the steps for a mesh network, because it's a little even more technical. You know what I mean? Yeah. People like us, people that are talking about this, that have communities. For those of you listening, that you have a community,
I think we all, in all our communities, we need that individual that's willing to take the first step and start working with it and using it, and then sharing their experience so that others can use it. It's very important. We're at that time now that we got to stop just talking about the things we want to avoid and the things we hate, but actually start talking about the things we want to create and actually put our energy towards that and not this other conversation.
Really well said. Yeah, using your tech, using your platform as a place to express yourself. And that's what we hope that Above Suite can help people do. I think the last thing I heard, I don't even know who uses this stuff, but we run all these services, a VPN, email and calendar, file sharing. And then last I heard, someone's doing live yoga courses on this. But I just heard through people, because we don't track anything. We don't log anything. We run it on our own infrastructure. Yeah, the solutions are out there.
That's actually kind of cool. What just happened there was really interesting. I don't know if people are using it or not, but go like anybody else that's creating something like this is going to want to know. So the fact that you're like, I don't know, it's my network, but I don't know.
I know how many people have bought access to the service, but other than that, we don't. There's things that
I would use. I would love to use this. I've been wanting to find an alternative to Zoom for a while, for a pretty long while. Also Google Drive. I started using it years and years ago and then just got so used to it. And I built my whole spiel around it. So the last couple of years, I've been like, I got to stop using this and I got to stop putting all my data there.
How big are your Zoom calls?
I do 3 lives per week. 2 of them are 60 minutes long and then 1 of them is 2 hours long. And I'm uploading that. I get about the largest one, probably about 20, 25 people in one live.
Okay.
So not too big. Not too big.
We should be able to handle that. I'll hook you up with a subscription and see how it works. No promises. If you can find me an alternative for Zoom and Google Drive, like somewhere I can upload this stuff for them to be able to watch a replay. Because yes, 80% of my audience watches the replay because they can't make the live itself. So that's also important. So if you can find me those solutions, I will bridge over right now, bro. I'm not even kidding. Okay. All right. He said it live on air.
I said
Can't take that back.
Yeah. This is great. I'm finding solutions. This is like the goal, is to find solutions and find ways around all this stuff. I did have one question about the devices for parts. Where do you source your parts? Is it just the same factories, or you have your own?
Yeah, so these phones, it's actually using Google hardware, which at first seems counterintuitive, but it's the hardware was chosen because of its Android support, and there are security reasons like having an isolated baseband and also things like verified boot, but all of that to say that Google actually has a very high standard of security in its devices. And then we can replace the entire operating system with something that is not connecting to Google at all. And yeah, on the parts side, that's great because these phones are in abundance. They're kind of everywhere and you can get them repaired anywhere that you're at. There's that. Our laptops as well. They do really well on the right to repair side. And so, normally we actually even launched a service. I keep forgetting about it. It's called Above Protect. And that's just a little subscription that you can get. And for a few dollars a month, if anything happens to your phone, even if it gets stolen or dropped, you can just get a new one. So it's a bit of like an insurance policy that you can get with us.
Love that. Yeah. I love that it's almost like you had the thought to be agnostic, right? Because I think when we're talking about decentralization and freedom, again, we don't want to recreate dependencies, right? We don't want to be like stuck in one location. So it seems to me with that answer that you've built this with that in mind, to be able to have options.
We got to be, what's the word? It's, oh man, why am I blanking on it? Yeah, it's basically being able to take the hits and growing from it. So
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the word now too. Oh gosh.
Spent too much time in front of these lights. Yeah.
So maybe if I can ask this question next. With everything that you're taking in now, right? You're doing all this research, you're building these solutions, you're creating this path forward, you're tapped in to, I believe, to technology and like what's happening with it. I know that there's the vision they have, and then there's our vision, or at least like what I would want for myself in this reality moving forward. So what does the tech reality you want look like moving forward? What would it look like in the next 5 years with everything that's happening?
Oh man, I love this question. Get a little bit of imagination and visualization involved. Yeah, man. So for me, this looks like small groups of maybe 8 households to 30 households putting their resources together and building their own server farm wherever they're at with the most technically proficient person in their group, and having a direct short connection to that person's house and having everything run on that: emails, file storage, video conferencing, kind of all the things we're doing here. Eventually we're going to share what we've learned and spread our model and give it away. That's the ultimate mission. And so I see that community-based computing and replacing all of our internet utilities, and even having, like, we can even have stuff like AI on these boxes in people's hometowns. But we're already much closer than we think, right? We can run a lot of these services on our home computers. We already have laptops that you can run local AI on and have a lot of information about natural health and survival skills. And yeah, I just see pockets of people who are using sovereign computing. And these are the people who will be truly free from the digital ID surveillance grid.
Dude, that was really cool vision that you just gave me there. Because I feel very aligned with that. I feel like I'm actually moving towards that. I feel like that is the most important currency of the future, is going to be like, how closely are you connected with your local community? And what have you done? What steps have you taken to solidify those relationships and figure out ways to exchange energy without using central systems? Oh, that sounds beautiful.
It's all people power, man. It's all people power. I always think about going into some of these dark rabbit holes. I always ask God, why did you make it so unfair? And then I think about how everything in the universe is perfectly balanced. And so I'm like, okay, there's like a handful, maybe a dozen billion or trillion dollar companies that they say that are controlling everything on the planet. So what is the inversion to that? And it's all just people power. So I did a report on digital ID, and it's like, all right, this thing is coming everywhere. It's probably going to absorb every mainstream established business. What can you really do? And the best thing you could do is get to know 150 to 200 people in your area and just look them in the eye and say, hey, I'm not going to let this surveillance grid get in between us, what we have here. Can we exchange freely? And that's it, dude. That's it. That's the solution. It's so easy, right? When you think about it that way, you just got to do it.
I do. And that's why I teach about re-internalizing self-worth and value, because I think what keeps people stuck in the thing that they're dependent on is because they feel that they need it to feel something, right? So it's like, if I don't stay with Wells Fargo, how can I control my wealth? And it's like they're limiting themselves because they've already created that relationship with it, or the dependency that we create with systems. It's like, if I want to feel successful, I need to do the job, or I need to go to this career, or I need to function with this platform. And it's like, we need to re-internalize that, our worth and value, to be able to express through the technology and not extract from it. So, dude, yeah, go ahead.
Did you come to Confluence?
I did. There? I saw you there. Oh, I didn't. I don't think I said hi to you. It was just so much going on. It was 1,200 people at that conference, and I was like, it's big enough and that I can't see everyone, but it's small enough that it feels like family. But
yeah, I was just like, wait, is that where I saw you? Then you brought up the self-worth stuff, and I was like, oh yeah. Joel and Gerasimos, which was super impactful to me to hear that today as something I needed. It really all is self-worth. That's all it is.
Yeah. That goes into everything, whether it's these technologies, whether it's the tools like OpenAI or blockchain, or even creating the trust structures, creating the private sector structures or the PMAs. You have to re-internalize self-worth and value. You have to become the expression of creation. And that is responsibility. There's a lot of responsibility with that. And to be able to stand in that square of that. I love this topic. This is the main vein of my academy. It's the main vein, I think, of what we all need to accomplish for ourselves is do that internal work first so that we can start performing properly, whether with the technology or the law forms.
It's not convenient, but it's worth it in all of these things, right? It's always the same divide. And with the law, with the crypto, with the tech, it's going to be a learning process. You want to make sure you have space, and that can be hard. Often this is going back to why social media is so damaging. Following up with this news cycle makes you feel like you don't have space, right?
Oof.
So to really create that for yourself so you can go in deep.
Good stuff. Good stuff. This is actually really interesting because I just got off a one-to-one session essentially, or like a consult session with Mike Winner, because I don't know if he helps leaders and people that have communities build out AI solutions and having like a Jarvis, like Iron Man, like having something that you can just send a message to and then things get done. So I've been actually looking at computers recently. I was looking at the Mac Studio, the Ultra, the M3, but they're coming out with this M5. But then I did this interview with you and I'm like, oh, do you have a computer that can do this kind of work? Or what are your thoughts on that? What would be a solution now?
Yeah, man. So we've got here, I'll pull up a tab for it. We do have a powerhouse of a computer. Now, it comes really close to those Mac computers. It's not going to be a Mac, but it comes really close. And I'll show you what the local AI looks like on it too. This is at abovephone.com/book. And we have a few different computers. Now, if you want to do AI work, you're going to want to use the AI Quantum 15. And this one's so it's outfitted with a Ryzen 7 and an RTX 5060. So I'm getting like close to 30 to 50 tokens a second on any model I run, even if it's 120 billion parameter model. And you can get this thing pretty kitted out. I'm not sure exactly what the setup is going to be that you're using, but this is a really solid to start out with. And I'll actually share with you here what our local AI looks like. It's built into it. It's not a full-on agent like Jarvis, but let's see. I find this tab.
Yeah, Mike Winter was telling me about Hermes. I don't know if you know about that one.
Hermes. Yes, that's the harness that you can use to plug in your AI into everything. What do you want to use? So what is your kind of vision with your AI stuff if you don't feel like sharing?
It's mostly like creating some agents to do some back-end work. Like I do my lives and there's like a process that takes me about an hour after every live to be able to upload the replay and get the caption and the summary of the session put into a place that can be reviewed and watched. I'd say another thing that I really want to do is create an Autobot. That's what I'm calling it, an Autobot, which is, again, something that a person can go into my website and there's a little auto agent and it has every live I've ever done transcribed in there, has all my coursework, has everything that I've ever taught. And then you can talk to Otto and ask questions to Otto. So little stuff like that, like things that cool. I can, So just this idea of having a system that can help give me back my time with the back end stuff, and it can learn who I am, to then also eventually help me with like content, doing research, compiling that data into scripts or carousels, the posts themselves. So yeah, I have ideas. But the more I talk to Mike, he's like, oh, you're going to need something robust, especially if you're going to like store, especially if you're going to do replays from like a local storage, if I want to be private with my videos.
So, yeah, I will say it's even going to, if you're going to do local transcription, that's definitely going to be.
So that's what he said. He's like, oh, you might want to do that because it's going to take up all the tokens and the processing power for weeks.
There are services. There are some third-party services you can use there. But so this is a good option. I think if you're wanting to go all in and build a harness to do all those things, it's a good option. It's not going to come up to those Mac Minis, but I do local AI dev with my Quantum. And so here's an example. Let's say, hey, I'm looking to dig a well on my property. So I'll just give you an idea of the performance TPS. How much are we getting? Yeah, 15 to Why can't I see my tokens per second? Anyways, this local AI is really cool. This is a model that Mike Adams trained on. He trained his AI on thousands of books on natural health and survival skills. Yeah, it just goes in super deep. I've heard it helps you like find the spot too, and it gives you ways to do it completely off grid. Yeah, there's some really cool AI models that are out there that you can start using right away. Yeah, so for you personally, I think that you could try the above book if you wanted to do it completely private. And if you want to use the Mac too, I'm sure that would get you all the power and more. But this thing's pretty fast itself.
Sweet. Yeah, I'm just starting this conversation, so I have to do more due diligence, and I didn't even know you were an option. So thank you.
Yeah.
As being a separate option that I can research now and go into.
You got it, man. And I definitely want to get you set up on the phone at some point. The cool thing is you can run local AI on the phone as well.
That's cool. See, I knew that iPhone was doing that. Apple was doing that with their newer phones. You know what phone I have? This is the 10 or the 11, I think.
Dude.
This is the 11. Yeah.
Dude, so it's gonna get.
I haven't upgraded my phone because I'm like, I don't want the new antennas. I don't know what they're putting in these new phones now.
I don't want my biofield scan. Come on.
My thoughts are my own.
We got you.
Yes,
we got
please.
you, bro. Whatever you need.
So I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much, Hakeem. Seriously, for those of you listening, I hope you're not in fear mode right now with all the stuff that we just talked about, because there is so much happening. I hope that these solutions can bring that feeling of, oh, there's a way forward. Not to take that from Alec. I can't believe I just said that. But there is. This is the way forward. Unfortunately, that's a great way to say it. It's not trademarked, yeah. But you are building these solutions. You're building these bridges. And like I tell my students is I created this academy. I created the space. I created the coursework. But that's all I can do. I can't force you to come and connect the dots. I can't force you to come in here and do the action steps. So if I can give any sort of incentive to you guys through what I'm saying, try to do this, try to take these steps, and at least start by researching and seeing what is happening with technology right now, and that we need to not be passive and actually take steps and take action by going into and using these alternative devices, alternative operating systems, applications, or else what's the point? Or else you're just going to be sucked into or forced down your throat, whatever it is that these groups want you to do. So
I just want to add one more thing to that is, you're not alone in the journey. We were talking earlier how important education is. And with our company, we know this is new tech and we're here to support you. If you get one of our phones and laptops, what is included is world-class support. So let me pull this up here. So with any computer or phone you get, you have free support. So you can get help through email and chat anytime from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we actually do a free 45-minute call with you. So this is kind of where we look at the device you're coming from and we help you move everything to your new device. We teach you how to use it. We teach you how to switch over the service, import your contacts, all of those things. So you're not doing it alone. We have some of the best materials. So you're in really good hands.
Love that. I love that. So one last question before we wrap it all up. So I like to ask this question. So let's say you're in front of 1 million people. You have 2 minutes that you can leave them with something. Okay. And then you're going to walk away. So what do you leave them with, those 1 million people, in 2 minutes?
Have faith. Have faith, because it's not going to be clear. It's not going to be clear how this all plays out. But all this technology that they're trying to build, even the technology we're trying to use, it doesn't hold any weight compared to the technology that's innate and is inside of us. And as we get to tap into that technology, as it becomes more revealed that we are superhuman, way past the boundaries of what we could expect, it will turn the tide. It will equalize things. And as long as you're living with awareness, you're living consciously, you're working on healing yourself, that should be priority number one, is getting your own health and field and mental into check, because we're all relying on each other and we need to make those investments now. So for me, that's what I'm doing personally. I'm just focusing on my health as much as I can with balancing my daily responsibilities. Because, yeah, we're here to steward this new way of living on the planet. So that's what I'd leave you with. And make time for that and make less time for consumption, and you'll be perfectly fine.
Love that. Great pice of advice.
Put me on the spot, man. That's
I know,
it's a lot. 1 million people.
Not that there's 1 million listening here, but that kind of helps the individual go, oh, this is important. It's 1 million people. I got to say something good here. But that was good. That was really good. That's a great reminder. And I can't reinforce that, reiterate that, reaffirm that. Without health, there is no wealth. There is no abundance. There is no freedom. We got to be healthy, or else we're just reacting to whatever is presented to us. Good stuff, man. I appreciate that. If they want to connect with you, or if they want to get the phone, if they want to buy it, where do they go? Is it abovephone.com?
Yeah, you can go to abovephone.com. I also want to hook your listeners up with a coupon code. Do you have one that you like to use?
It can just be
OTO.
Or
OTO.
Whatever the discount is, like Auto 10 or Auto 20, whatever it is.
Okay, so we'll do a discount Auto 50 for $50 off any device.
Beautiful.
That's a phone or a laptop. Check that out. And if you have any questions, remember you can chat with us here. We've got a little chat button in the bottom right-hand corner. So talk to us. We're real people. We're not AI. We'll get your questions sorted. And if you want to follow my work, go to tbot.substack.com. I've been writing about internet privacy for 5 years. Lots of different solutions, staying on track with all the surveillance that's being rolled out and having solutions every week. This is my show, tbot.substack.com. And bro, thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. It was a great convo.
Love it. Thank you, Hakeem. Really appreciate you. Again, thank you for what you're doing. Keep doing it. I'm here to support. And everyone listening, thank you for listening. And we like to end these episodes with our CFA, our Academy motto. Always remember, gamify your abundance. Love y'all. Have a good rest of your day.